Okay, have you ever wanted to learn something that could save your life and you could have fun while learning it too? Well, I always think of this as boxing. I feel like I'm credible to talk about the situation because I've been boxing for the past 2 or 3 years or so, and I've had a lot of coaching and instruction on it, and that goes into my credibility as well. I've been taught, I've learned a technique, so I feel like I'm pretty credible to talk about it. So, my purposes today is to inform everyone how boxing can be great for muscle control, a great workout, and a great method of self-defense in case you ever need it. Fortunately, hopefully you wouldn't. So, that's also my main points too, is muscle control, then workout, then self-defense modifications too. So, the technique for the punch is very important, as there are many silly misconceptions about it, and really it's a bunch of simple and very subtle muscle control that you learn over a bunch of long time repetition. So, the technique of punch starts off with, according to Segan's B from the Bleach Report, punching transfers energy into the torso, delivering it to the opponent from the fist. And it's all about turning the body into a recoiling machine. And so, as you can see with this graphic right here, you really just have to start turning your hips and your shoulders and hand in one solid motion. It's not like you roll into it. It's all starts from legs and it's one solid movement. Where you think it's just arm strength or anything else like that, strength has very little to do with actual punching power. It's all about the technique and how well you control your muscles. And the second part of this, as I mentioned, muscle control, comes in with your arm muscles and the rest of your body too. So the most important part is to keep all your muscles very loose and not tense whatsoever. Because the tenser you are, the more strain you put on your body and the slower you actually hit. And the whole thing is to have a weirdly, oddly relaxed state where you're not really worrying about any of the muscle control, as this should all be second nature to you, as by the time you've done all the training and stuff to get up to the point where you're actually boxing people. And so you keep all your muscles really loose and you're turning your arm, then you tense it with the closed fist at the very end. You keep your hand open like this and close it to make a fist until the very second that you're about to punch them. And if you do that, it'll be telegraphed because it'll be a lot slower than it would be if you did it correctly. So moving on to how it can be used as a viable workout routine. Boxing as a workout is very anaerobic in nature, according to Seekins again from the Bleach Report. And it's all about mimicking the anaerobic demands on a body over a 2-minute round, which is from bodybuilders.com. And so the whole purpose of the workout is that you mimic how the fight's going to be. So when you're running, when you're shadow boxing, when you're back training, it's all about never catching your breath for a second, because you're never going to be able to do that when you're doing an actual round. And so what it involves with running is that you need to start off, well, in the past it used to be like a 4 or 5 mile roadwork training, and that's highly inefficient. According to current sciences, the correct way to do running and boxing in up to maybe an hour or an hour and a half workout is that it's 2 to 3 times more, it's about as efficient as a 9K in 60 minutes on a treadmill, according to Gibson. And this is from a report from, I believe, 2005. And it's all very important because running, you start off with a mile run, then 600 meter dashes, and then a worn down 800 meter run. And that's all, and you need to do that 2 to 3 times a week in order to keep all of the anaerobic demands up with it. And any longer than that is actually more detrimental to your body than it is helpful. And the second component is shadow boxing and back training. Shadow boxing is all about boxing an imaginary opponent, and that's where you're practicing your footwork, moving in and out around your opponent, and dodging and weaving and punching too. And it's all in your head, and you need very minimal space to move around and practice it efficiently. Then back training is, of course, punching bag, all your form too. And these are both where you really hone your skill and form, because that's where all the subtle muscle control comes in. Because if you practice poorly, then your control is going to be shit. And at that point, you shouldn't even try to box until you practice more. Oh, sorry for my profanity. Okay. So now I've talked about how the workout goes into it. I'll talk about how you can do self-defense modifications in order to use this as a viable way to protect yourself. So one of the common modifications that can be used is changing your I'll back up a second. So a great way why you should consider boxing for functional self-defense is that it's really great for avoiding punches and grabs. which is what most people who are inexperienced at fighting do when they're mugging someone. And it's very important to practice this so you can keep it toned down and you control your movement. And you actually don't really need to make many modifications to regular boxing to make it functional for self-defense. The two things you need to do is, and that last quote was from functionalboxing.com. And so the two modifications is that you need to have open palm strikes instead of closed fists, so you won't break any of your fingers, maybe punching someone's bones. And palm is much more effective too because it has support from the entire bone structure of your arms. Then not choosing a dominant hand for boxing as well is important since you don't know which direction it'll be coming. And to close out my speech, boxing is very important because it's a great workout and it can be used to save your life. I went over the muscle control component workout and how it can be converted to self-defense. And I hope you all will consider not even just boxing, but any martial art to protect yourself, as it's a great way to work out and have fun.